Welcome back here, the whole 9 yards on a Sunday night. Pats versus Bucks just finished. Let's just get into the games. Quite the day of football. We'll start with the game that just concluded. Bucks at Patriots. I'm gonna eat my words on it. I was completely wrong about the outcome of the game. Well, I guess not technically completely wrong, but I was just completely wrong. I was completely wrong. I thought it was going to be a complete blowout, and then it ended up not being that. Now, did the rain contribute to that early in the game? I think so. I think that probably cost the Bucks multiple drives. Brady, I don't know if it was him just missing throws because of the nerves or the weather, but what's your first reactions from the game? Did it go the way you thought it would, or?
Yeah, the rain I think did play somewhat of a factor. Now, if there was no rain, I think it'd be probably more high scoring, but I think it'd still be a close game. This is kind of the game where we talked about it earlier, where like, do we think it's gonna be a Bucks blowout? I know you took Bucks -7, so clearly you thought at least they were gonna win by more than a touchdown. But it seemed like it was probably gonna be a close game. I don't think Belichick was going to let the Patriots just get absolutely demolished, and clearly that wasn't the case. And like I said, the rain probably had somewhat of a factor. But even if it wasn't raining, I think it'd be a close, tough game. I still would have picked the Bucks to win as they did, but it was definitely a really tough game. It wasn't a pretty game. It was definitely really ugly. Brady played. I think he played good. I don't think he played amazing. Obviously, he didn't play bad. Made no turnovers with no touchdowns. I thought Mac Jones played amazing. I thought, like I said to you, I think I like him more than you do. I don't know if that changed after tonight, but the last 2 weeks I've been saying, even after the 3-pick performance against the Saints, I just like the way that he plays. I think he's just a perfect quarterback for this team. He's clearly he's clearly the best quarterback out of the draft class so far. There's still a lot of time left, but I think he's definitely the best right now. And I think he just fits this team perfectly. So yeah, I think you should be really happy if you're the Patriots, even though you lost and you're 1-3. I think you should be happy, knowing that Mac, I think, will be a franchise quarterback. I think he's really that good.
I'm not sure. The Patriots fans they should be happy about how Mac Jones played. I don't think they should be happy right now. You're 1-3. The Bucks played a bad game and they did everything they could do to let you win this game. I don't know if being injured in the secondary is letting you win the game, but they had no secondary. Richard Sherman was out there. Carlton Davis ends up getting injured. Antoine Winfield ends up getting injured. Not to mention they already had an injury to Jamel Dean. I still think the Patriots offense should have done better. Now, if you want to blame that on, I don't know who you want to blame that on. I'm not gonna blame it on Mac. I'm gonna watch the game again, but I'm not gonna blame it on Mac. But to only put up 17 points, is it the rain's fault? Is it Mac's fault? Is it McDaniel's fault? Is it just time of possession? I don't know. I would have to look more into it, but I still think 17 points in this game is disappointing. You should have won this game if you're the Patriots, really. The Bucks had no secondary. I guess if we're looking at the very end of the game, there was a questionable call to kick that 56-yard field goal. I, at the time, was thinking go for it. I didn't even think that the 56-yard field goal, or at the time, you were at like the 37. I didn't know exactly what it was, but I assumed it was at least a 53. I didn't even think that was going to be an option. Suckup was like barely good from, I think it was 51 earlier. And I just kind of, Nick Folk just has a weak leg. I didn't think he'd be able to even make it from 56. Now the kick was better than I thought it was, but it obviously missed. I questioned the call to go for it there. To kick the field goal, I would have gone for it. The offense had been fine. And I think I would have trusted the ball more in Mac's hands than I did in Nick Folk's foot there. But what's your call on that?
Yeah, I don't. I see, like, obviously what you're saying. Obviously, if you don't go for that and you miss it, though, it's like you still had a chance to at least take the lead. So I know there's that side of the argument as well. With the rain, maybe that would have influenced your decision to go for it. But again, if it's just to the right a little bit, it's good. It definitely would have made it from 56, maybe even 57, 58. So I don't really have an opinion on it. I think either way would have been fine, but I think I'd probably lean a little bit more towards at least having the chance to get the points instead of doing a play that, again, you get it, you still have a chance, but if you don't, then it's over right away. So I don't know. I think it's a split decision, and I think you have to trust what your coach does there.
Well, I'm going to question it, but
Well,
I
as a
just
how,
the
but how about if
kick
they went?
was.
How about if they went for it and didn't get it? Then you just don't
Oh,
even have
I
a.
would have
Then
been
you
like, no, I wouldn't have questioned it because I honestly think kicking the 56-yard field goal is kind of dumb. Now this is the reason why I'm not going like like this is the reason I'm not fully just going ham on this decision. Is the kick was better than I thought it was going to be. Had he like completely shanked it, which honestly I didn't even know if they were going to snap that ball. I mean, like obviously you were going to. You're not going to like take a delay a game or like call a timeout there, just waste a timeout. But I was just so confused. I didn't like Nick Folk is like almost never kick. He never almost never kicks balls that are longer than 50 yards in this team. And a lot of the field goals that he kicks from like 46 like look like they're going like 50 at most sometimes. I was surprised. Now, again, the kick was better than I thought it was going to be, but it still didn't go in. I would have gone for it. I would have tried to set up the Mac or Nick Folk for a 45-ish, as well as, if he makes that, Brady and the Bucks still have a solid amount of time to go down and kick a field goal themselves. So, and they had success in the passing game. So I don't know. I didn't like the call, but again, it wasn't the reason that, the game was the way it was. I guess for the Patriots, one place I would look at was the offensive line. The offensive line was bad again tonight. Mac Jones, and they talked about it in the broadcast, but Mac Jones pretty much just didn't have a lot of time to throw the ball at all. And obviously something that helps him is his short release, quick release. But the offensive line was horrible again tonight. And I mean, I'm not really sure that the Bucks pass rush this season and really in general, other than their one postseason run, is that insanely great. Uh, but the offensive line was bad tonight, and that's another reason why maybe the Patriots offense wasn't as great as it should have been tonight.
Well, to be fair, JPP wasn't playing. But also I think that they didn't really. I mean, the one thing I'll say for the Patriots offensive line, it wasn't good. And I had to look up the stat again, but they only ran for -1 yard. Obviously, that's just totally unacceptable. So the thing about their secondary being bad is that they knew the Patriots couldn't run on them, so they could at least not. They could at least have 7 guys back. If they wanted to at all times, just knowing that there's no way that the Patriots could run on them. So that's the one thing that you can counteract that bad secondary. Now, it worked for this game. It's going to work for the rest of the season. No, the Bucks are going to have to fix their secondary because it is terrible. I mean, you had Richard Sherman playing corner. That's obviously not ideal. So that needs to be fixed for them in the future. But for this game, I mean, even though their secondary is terrible, and again, I still thought that Mac played a really good game. They could at least, knowing that there's no way the Patriots could run the ball, they knew they could at least, bring White and David back there to at least help out in coverage. So I think that at least counteracted some of those troubles that they had in the secondary.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it had any. I don't think the rushing game had anything to do with. I mean, we just didn't try to rush the ball. I said this that we would potentially do this last week, and I said the only reason we wouldn't was literally because if we thought we had no chance of winning the game. Mac Jones pretty much passed the ball on every single down. We rushed the ball in total 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 times. And I'm not sure exactly how many of those are designed runs. Not all 8 of them. I know that for a fact. So yeah, on the Bucs side, I mean, early it was a lot of missed throws from Brady. Overall, I think the Patriots defense had a pretty good game plan. A lot of just, and again, they said this on the broadcast, but it just a lot of disguises. Belichick drew up a better game plan for Brady than I thought he'd be able to. I thought it would just be too many weapons, and just Brady's too good. And there is not necessarily this like, since Bill has been the coach of him, he just has this certain game plan he knows would shut him down. And I don't even think he really had that, but yeah, the Patriots had a good defensive game plan. Another thing that hurt was not having Gronk. I don't know how many field goals did they kick this game? 5 field goals attempted, 4 made. Obviously, that's an issue. You can't, if you're playing a top team, if you're the Bucks playing a top team, you can't be kicking 5 field goals in a game and expecting to win with the defense that you have right now. But it was enough to get it done today. So.
Yeah, and I mean they're 3-1 going forward. The Bucks. I mean they play the Dolphins, then the Eagles and the Bears. So I mean that should be 3 wins, pretty easy wins. I mean Dolphins are terrible without Tua. Even with Tua, they're not that good anyways. The Eagles are obviously really bad, and the Bears. I guess we can talk about it in a little bit, but they did win today. But again, they're still not a good team. So this was actually somewhat not like a huge game. I mean, obviously it was a huge game for other reasons, but if they were to lose this game, they're 2-2. I mean, that means you kind of have to win the next 3. Like they're not must wins, but if you really want to be one of those top seeds and earn a bye, it was somewhat of a must win. Even though the Rams lost, you still have the Cardinals. the Niners, Seahawks, either one of those teams. So it was a pretty big win, obviously, in that aspect. Then obviously for Brady coming back. I mean, I guess, what were your emotions? Did you even have any emotions, watching the game and him coming back?
Not really. I mean, I think some people, I mean, a bunch of people definitely had emotions. I wasn't really like too crazy about it because I like can process the fact that Brady wasn't on the Patriots last year. For I guess some people couldn't process that, um, or I guess couldn't process that he was on a different team. I don't know, but I didn't have too many emotions about it. It wasn't like I didn't tear up or whatever or anything or feel any sort of anything crazy. As far as Brady's interactions with the Patriots, Belichick, I thought post game was pretty interesting. He had some pretty lengthy conversations with some people, at least lengthy in terms of like post game, quick hug or whatever. And him and Belichick, as far as I could hear, the only thing Brady said was good game. It looked like he might have tried to say something after, like good game, something, but realistically, they said nothing to each other. And McDaniels and Brady not only had a hug pregame, but had a hug and a discussion post game. And obviously, Brady has known McDaniels for only about like half as long as Belichick. At least that's his amount of time that McDaniels has been on the Patriots as an offensive coordinator, both the first time and the second time. So it's crazy. I mean, clearly Belichick was, I don't think the mic picked up what he said, but I'm assuming it was a good game and he was out of there. It was crazy. I don't know what I was expecting as far as their discussion, but clearly they are not like on good terms right now. Now they're still going to be friends long term. They're still going to be BFFs at the Hall of Fame, and when they both get inducted to the Hall of Fame, I'm not concerned about that. But it is crazy to see that they kind of had like how Kobe and Shaq. I mean, I guess they never really liked each other. Brady and Bill, I think they did like each other, but they definitely had a falling out at the end of the relationship, and that clearly shows it there. And we had heard the reports of it, for at least a few years, but that's the first time that like the audience truly got to see what their relationship looks like, even if it's just one word. I mean, that literally just good game like spoke a lot of stuff about their relationship. So
Yeah, I mean, I do feel like they probably like tonight they're probably just gonna like whatever, like have a drink or whatever and hang out and talk. Most likely, I would assume, like probably this is
no,
probably like
Brady
a
and Bill,
I think so. I think this
no,
is more of like a quick thing on the field, and then they're probably gonna hang out probably with Kraft probably tonight. That's what I would assume, to be honest.
no.
That's what
There's
I
literally
think.
no way. There's like I would, if that somehow did happen, I would like we can just destroy the podcast because that's like that's how confident I
I wouldn't
am.
be surprised with that. Why would you be so surprised if that were to happen?
Because I don't even think Brady and Bill are like on speaking terms right now. Like, yes, they spoke to each other, but they had to do that. I yeah, I don't think they're dying to be in the same room together at all. They weren't dying to be on the same field together at all. They pretty much did less than the bare minimum in terms of post game stuff. So
Well, that's why I
yeah,
was thinking. That's why I was thinking the post game stuff was minimum because they're gonna just whatever talk tonight or just hang out tonight. That's what I think. But
no,
um,
I mean I'm pretty confident in the fact that Brady and Bill, at least are in a fight, if you want to call it that. They're just not. I just don't think they're on good terms right now. But it'll be fine. But yeah, it was interesting to see.
all right. Well, that was it for the Sunday night game. But I guess we can get into our picks for week 4. You still have one game left, but it's Monday. It's obviously the Monday night game. So we'll just talk about the ones that have already happened so far. Can already cover some games, and we can talk about other ones that we want to talk about. So I guess first game for me, Washington and Atlanta. Atlanta completely blew this game. This easily should have covered. They were up 30-22 with 4 minutes
I
left, and we're still up 30-28 with I don't know 30 seconds left, and they still couldn't cover this. This was ridiculous. I
I
went
mean you
3-2.
deserve it. You deserve it
I don't
though.
know if I deserve it. I mean, the Falcons played easily their best game of the season, and they
Just
just
okay. Let's
the
play
one.
like
Well, okay, one the play that Heineke had to he just chucked it up to Terry McLaurin in the end zone. It has to be bat it down, pick anything, and then the J.D. McKissick play where he throws it all the way to the other side of the field, somehow escapes 2 tackles, then leaps over a guy from the 5 yard line for the winning touchdown. It was just ridiculous that they blew that game.
all right, let's just play like a word association game. I'll say something and you just tell me the first thing that comes to your mind. All
I
right.
feel like I already know what you're gonna say. So
All right. Tom Brady.
I mean the Falcons. I mean, like I was
No,
thinking
no, no, no,
about
no,
that.
no, no, no,
So
no, 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 no. That's not what I'm trying to do.
what?
Like actually, like okay, like iPhone,
Apple? I don't know.
Falcons.
Choke.
Yeah, so it's like
I mean, that's what I was
they
thinking.
find ways. You know, I know, but I wanted to like kind of set it up so you wouldn't just like
But
it was a.
I knew you were gonna do that
But
anyways.
that's I mean
So
like, and that's what I said last week, or yeah, last week was it's just too scary. Like these, I don't like. It's just these two teams are just not like I could not have put that game
but
on
you
my
know what? I
predictions.
had more
So
trust in the Falcons in this game than honestly the Washington. The Washington looked so bad last week, and I know it was against the Bills, and the Bills destroyed the Texans today. But the Falcons easily, like I said, easily played their best game of the season, and they just do what the Falcons do. I don't know. It was just they just shouldn't have lost that game. They had two chances, they had almost like three chances to win that game, or at least cover. I mean, again, it was 1.5 all day to cover was. That was just a ridiculous loss.
yeah, I mean the Falcons, the Lions, and the Browns are three teams that I'm very scared to want to bet on. You ended up betting on three. It ended up, I mean, kind of working out, I guess. Well, for one of those teams, but those are the three teams I'm scary to bet
Yeah,
on,
it
and
should have
you
been
bet on
two of
three of
those
them.
teams. Yeah.
I mean, I don't know.
I mean, it still should have been, no matter what their past history was. They're up by,
I guess, but that doesn't, whatever.
sure.
I hit on Seahawks at Niners, which
Yeah.
was pretty nice. That was a game I was the least confident in. The game I was like the most confident in, Pats Bucks, did not hit on. But
Yeah. That was the Seahawks Niners again. That was I didn't honestly really didn't watch much of that game to be honest, but I do know Lance is going to be the starting quarterback, I would assume, for the next couple of weeks. Garoppolo did get injured, so we can finally see what Lance looks like in this offense. Let me just look at his numbers real quick from today. It was only the second half, but 9 of 18, 157 yards, 2 touchdowns. I know one of them was late that got it to 21, but
he had a good
um,
game. He had I watched like a decent amount of that game. He had flashes. I mean, he like most rookie quarterbacks so far, he had flashes. He had some plays that you're kind of like meh, but I mean, it's definitely was not as bad as like a Trevor Lawrence or Zach Wilson prior to this week. So
yeah, and it's never going to be when you're with Shanahan. That's just I think there's no way you could be bad. I mean, he made Nick Mullins look pretty good, so it's kind of hard to be a bad quarterback in a system. But now knowing that he's going to be the starter, I think the offense is obviously going to change. It's going to be a lot more running and RPOs, everything. They play the Cardinals. That's obviously a really tough opponent next week. Than the Colts. So we'll see how they do. They're 2-2. Same with the Seahawks. Um, I guess we weren't ready to talk about it, but Lions Bears that didn't hit for me.
I was really happy that game ended up, because
Not working
I
out.
criticized that bet last week. Honestly, I
Yeah,
kind of think in
I
hindsight I should have bet on that game.
I mean, to be honest though, they had so many chances early in that game. I mean, you had the stupid fumble on the first drive, which they were again in the red zone. I mean, they should have at least got points there. The Bears already scored a touchdown, but 7-3. Bears go down, score another touchdown. They turn it over on downs after being on the Chicago 5-yard line. So again, that could be points right there. So two easy chances to at least get points. They don't get it. Next possession, fumble. So I mean, that was after a 10-play drive as well. So they had chances. They just again, that was just them making mistakes and beating themselves when it still ended up only a 10-point game. Easily could have been a much closer game than that. So I'm not gonna say I was obviously I'm wrong on my picks, but the Lions won. I can't really argue because they lost. They should have lost that game. But again, the Falcons won. I think that should have really went my way, to be honest. But the next game for me, at least, Browns Vikings. It was a terrible game. It was maybe the worst game of the day, but they did cover 14-7. Like I said, the Vikings can't stop the run. And what did the Browns do? They rushed for 184 yards. So that's why I picked them. It worked out. That was my second. I had 3 wins. We both had 2 of the same: Chiefs, Eagles, Ravens, Broncos. You picked Chiefs, Ravens. Those seemed so easy. They were so obvious. I don't know how you couldn't take those, especially the Baltimore one. I mean, like that was a ridiculous line. They didn't
It
really
did
play
help. It
great.
did help that game that Bridgewater went out in
Yeah, yeah,
at half. But yeah, I mean the Ravens were still on track to win that game by a solid amount. So
yeah. They still would have won that game, but it did help for sure. But yeah, like I said, I went 3-2. Right now, you're 3-1 with the Chargers game tomorrow. So we'll see. But again, a 4-1 week would it'd get you a game closer. So
it
that would
get me to
obviously be a
five. It
big.
get me to 500 on the year because I'm one
Yep.
game under right now. Actually, sorry, get me to one game above 500. If I lose the Chargers Raiders game, then I would be at 500. So
Yeah, but
I'll
I guess
take
we'll
it.
see.
I'll take it.
Yeah, again, you needed a somewhat big week, and if you get 4 wins, obviously that's a big week. So, and again, like I said when we did our last podcast, I said as long as I go 3-2, I'm happy. I went 3-2, so I'm okay with that. I guess other games we want to talk about. I'm gonna save the Cowboys one for when I do mine. Maybe if you, I mean, unless you want to say anything about it, you can. But I'm gonna save it. The Bills game again. We don't have to touch that. They completely just blew them out. Um, the Giants Saints game. This was a game I did not expect the Giants to win. I thought Daniel Jones played really well. Again, I didn't watch a lot of this game. I watched a little bit of it, but Daniel Jones really impressed. He's looked. I mean, they're 1-3, but it's not because of him. He's played really well this year. Again, is he going to be a franchise quarterback? No, but I think he's played really well through 4 games so far. And to blame any loss on him, I think would be a mistake. Because I don't think it's against him. I think it's the defense and the play calling that's really holding them back. But today was a good game against a Saints team that's really on and off. Again, like they have a huge win week 1, terrible loss week 2, a decent win against your Patriots team, and then a bad loss here. So I don't know what to think about them yet, but I guess you have any thoughts about that game?
This was a game I didn't watch too much of, but I will say in general, I think people are overrating Daniel Jones's performance throughout these first 4 weeks. Yes, he has not played bad. My expectations was that he was going to play awful, and essentially they would be drafting the next guy next year. I think he's played well enough to, hold the haters off, or even just the realists. But I don't think he's played well enough to the point where I see any sort of potential to be a franchise quarterback. To me, he still has played like a guy who looks like a backup, but just has had a solid 4 games. So yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and look, I see the same thing.
Both of these teams look bad though. I think both of these teams are not great.
No, of course, and they go. Look, the Giants are not a good team. Maybe they should probably be better just because the defense should be better. It's not playing really well right now, but even still, they're probably a 6-win team to be honest. So the Saints should be a better team though. They're just not playing well. Taysom Hill is actually pretty effective today, but I don't even really know how they lost this game to be honest. I guess it was just their defense wasn't that good because you look at their offensive stats, it's pretty good. So a bad loss for the Saints though for sure. But moving on, the Jets, they got their first win of the season against the Titans. A really bad loss for the Titans, especially when the Colts beat the Dolphins today. So now you're only up 1 game in the division. You could have went up 2 games, had at least a bigger lead in that division. So to lose to the Jets too. Again, Wilson played a really good game. I thought he played pretty well. But again, a really bad loss to the Jets.
Yes, obviously I'm happy I was rooting for the Jets this game, even though they're in the AFC East. I'm rooting for the Colts to win this division. I'm on record for saying that even if the Colts lose to the Titans in week 3, that they would still be in the race, and I still would pick them to win the division. This loss helps me. Would I have predicted this loss? Obviously not. I don't think many people would have predicted this loss. But today was a day where for Ryan Tannehill, when he doesn't have AJ Brown and Julio Jones, it was clear today that he's not a special quarterback. And it's like beyond me how people think he's a top 10 guy. And then they would leave a guy like Stafford out of that top 10, or Lamar or Kyler. All those guys they're just much better than Ryan Tannehill. Ryan Tannehill is a game manager, if that. He just doesn't make many special plays. And today they probably needed some special plays from him, where he really only had Henry. And as far as his wide receiving core, he has really nothing other than when he doesn't have Julio and AJ. He wasn't able to get it done. With that said, I wouldn't necessarily blame the loss on Tannehill. There was the Titans just had a bad game. Wilson, though, had a great game. He might have actually had the best week out of any rookie quarterback this specific week. He had a couple great throws. And this is a game where, I'm a Wilson doubter. I don't think he will end up being the quarterback for the Jets. But, I mean, this was a week where you can clearly see the talent is there. And this is a game you see why they drafted Wilson. Has he had a great 4 games so far? No, but listen, I'm still not sold on Saleh as a head coach. They acted like they won the freaking Super Bowl after they won this game. One of the guys dumped the Gatorade jug on Saleh, as well as just like when Bullock missed that field goal, Salah was just celebrating. Listen, I
Well,
know
I
it's your first
mean,
regular
first
season win.
win.
I
I
don't
don't know.
care. I don't care. Like you play
First
for the
win. I
you
think
coach the worst organization in the NFL, arguably. Um, I don't care for that much celebrating. Um, that would have been like one of my just like that was one of my cringier moments of the week of the NFL was watching that celebration. You're still 1-3, so
I mean, I didn't think that. I think if first win, if that's your second win, then yeah, that's obviously you shouldn't be doing that. But first win, I think it's a little different. But
yeah, I don't know. Maybe,
the
maybe I'm harsh, but
two things I want to say. So I think in the next couple weeks, or maybe whenever you want to do it, we should create a top 10 quarterback list, and probably in a couple weeks because you have a couple more games and everything. But a solidified top 10 list. Neither of us see what it is until we announce it. And it's not just top 10 quarterbacks, just top 10 quarterbacks to that point in this season. I think that'll be very interesting to see because again, there's been a lot of quarterbacks who have jumped up on that list. So I try to go through the top 10 in my head, and it's just like you think one guy is probably like 6 or 7, but then he's probably like 8 or 9 when you think of a couple other guys. So I'll actually be curious to see when we do that. We'll definitely do it at some point. What our lists look like. But the other thing I wanted to say was for the Titans. So they fall back on an easy game next week against the Jaguars, but then they have a tough stretch of games. You go against the Bills, Chiefs, Colts on the road, and then Rams on the road. I mean, that is tough, really tough 4 games. You have to go 2-2 in those games. If you go 1-3, especially a loss to the Colts, then it's not looking good for the division because the Colts, you would assume, would gain momentum. They're not a 1-3 team. I think they're a better team than that, but that's a really tough 4-game stretch for them.
listen, I've been very critical of the Jaguars, and I think I'm correct in being critical of the Jaguars. But let's not forget that this team was at least competitive when we thought maybe this was like an 0-17 team. This is not an 0-17 team, the Jaguars. Now, are they anything more than 3 or 4 wins? Probably not. But they also have a long week. They played on Thursday night. They're going to have an extra couple days to prepare for the Titans. And the Titans just lost to the Jets, and the Jets are on pretty much the same tier as the Jaguars. So, I mean, I would pick the Titans if you held a gun to my face and told me I need to make this pick right to save my life. But I wouldn't be like completely shocked if the Jaguars were able to pull off an upset there. I'm not sure on the history on the injuries for AJ Brown and Julio. I would assume they're back next week, but even if they are, those players aren't exactly known for being like Cal Ripken Jr. or anything. So
Yeah, it's very true. And Henry was great today, but again, like you need someone on the outside, even if it's just one of them. Even though they'll probably get injured again, you're right. You need at least someone out there, but that's a really tough 4-game stretch. And the Colts, I know they'll play the Niners and someone else in like the next 5 games as well, but they have a couple more easier games, and they'll play the Jets and the Texans as well. So I would assume the Colts are going to probably go back into first place at some point, especially with the way the Titans are playing, but I guess we'll see.
yeah, they travel to Baltimore next week, 49ers
So
in a couple weeks. It's going to be tough. I mean, we'll see when they play the Titans on a Halloween. So that'll probably be that's going to be a huge game for that division.
Yeah. I guess last 1:00 game until we get to the 4:00 games. Chiefs Eagles, we kind of touched on it a little bit earlier, but not much. The Chiefs, they kind of started off a little slow. I mean, they were down 10-7 after the first quarter, but they turned it up. Mahomes 5 touchdowns, Tyreek Hill 3 touchdowns, 186 yards. This is what a good team does to a bad team, even though they did let the Eagles, hang in there and let them come back a little bit towards the end. This is the Chiefs that we kind of, expect. And yeah, Mahomes obviously had a great day and put himself, back into the MVP race a little bit.
I was expecting like an on to Cincinnati type game with this, and I don't think that's what we got. The offense played well, sure, but I think I expected the defense to pick it up a little bit, and the defense to me was not good today. I mean, Jalen Hurts is all right, but 32 for 48 when you're down the whole game, 2 touchdowns, no picks. And again, the Eagles were pretty much down the whole game, pretty much. So I have questions about the Chiefs defense, and I know that's not like a hot take or anything, but I was expecting like a blowout game. I mean, I don't think we necessarily got a blowout game. I think the Eagles
No.
hung in there for a little bit longer for a lot longer than I think they should have. And I think you need to take a look. I think you need to take a look. Some of the free agents / drafting has not been great on the defensive side for the Chiefs. That might come back to bite them. So we'll see.
Yeah, I don't really even remember, a first, not even a first round pick, but just like draft picks on their defensive side that have made like huge contributions. Again, they don't have Frank Clark playing right now; he is injured. But even
But Frank
still,
Clark has like not been a good trade. Like
no,
that's a key
no,
example of. I mean, Chris Jones, I think they drafted him, but it wasn't like
but
a.
that was a couple of years. I mean, that's not like the last when they've been at the top the last 3 years. Like been a second round, a third round guy who's made impactful plays on that defense. Again, it's a lot of free agent guys, a lot of trade guys that they've been getting. But the defense usually does get better as the year goes on. But we'll see. They definitely are concerning. The last couple of weeks have been really bad, so we'll see. But I do know they have a couple injured guys as well, though. But I guess we can go to the 4 o'clock games, and I think the game to talk about from the 4 o'clock games was the Cardinals and the Rams. The Cardinals they just beat down on the Rams, to be honest. It was basically a blowout. The Rams had a late touchdown to make it 37-20, but it was a 20-point game almost the whole game. Kyler Murray was incredible. The Rams, a team that I'm high on, just didn't look good. The defense got shredded up. It's not even like DeAndre Hopkins had a big game. He was only 4 for 67, but Murray was just incredible with his feet. They had 200 yards on the ground. That's something that usually doesn't happen against the Rams very often. So a lot of concerning aspects, I guess, on the defensive side. Offensively, I'm not totally worried for the Rams. I think they're still one of the best offenses anyways. They had 120 yards on the ground, almost 300 yards through the air as well. But defensively, I think there's a little bit of concern there. But even still, you look at the Bucs, how they've been playing, not amazing so far. The Packers, definitely one of the top teams, but I think the Rams are better than them. And then if you look at the NFC West, I think they're probably still better than the Seahawks and the Niners. And then you have the Cardinals, but we'll see. We'll see what happens to the Cardinals next couple of weeks. I think that they're definitely a good team, but I think you'd probably agree they're not the best team in this division.
Yeah, I'm not concerned about the Rams at all from this game. It's an in-division game. Stuff like this is going to happen when you play teams twice a year, every single year. It's tough to really take like anything serious away from this game. Like, I don't think you can come away from this game saying the Cardinals are better than the Rams at all. I just don't think that's true. I think the Cardinals are a good matchup for the Rams. I think they match up well, but overall, I'm not concerned as a Rams fan. Defensively, they didn't have a great game. I mean, Ramsey had a good game against Hopkins. They both made plays for sure. But overall, the Rams just had a bad game. Offensively, they didn't have a great game. Defensively, they obviously didn't have a great game. Now, if you're a Cardinals fan, you have to feel great. I mean, this was like kind of a prove it game in a way. The only thing that is not so prove it about it is like what I said about it being an in division thing. And in a world, I mean, there have been years where the Cardinals have been bad and the Rams have been good, and the Cardinals have beaten the Rams, and you're not taking anything crazy away from that type of game. So I think it's the same this year. I mean, not that the Cardinals are bad, but I just don't think you should be taking much away from it. Kyler Murray looks insane, but he also looked insane last year. This time of year as well. Let's see it. I want to see consistently for the Cardinals, just like you said. Let's check in on like week 10. And if they're still looking really good and still looking like they actually might win this division, then I think that's when you kind of get to like starting to talk about the Cardinals as a legitimate contender. But right now, I still have them as my 4th best team in the NFC West. I know they're undefeated. I know they're 4-0, but I still think they're my 4th best team in the NFC West right now. But again, it is the best division maybe of all time. I mean, it's insane how good this division is right now.
Yeah, and I would agree. I think they probably are the 4th best team, with I think the Rams being first, and I would probably just put Seattle second because of the Lance is going in. We just don't know what's going to happen with them. The Niners third, and then obviously Cardinals 4th. But yeah, by week 10, we'll see. We'll see if they're 7-3, 6-4, or maybe they're even 9-1. But I think they're probably going to come back to life a little bit. Unless Murray gets, like last year, Murray got injured, and that's kind of what somewhat derailed them a little bit. But even still, I just think they're not. The defense is good. It's not great though. And that offense, it really relies on Murray. If he has a bad game, there's just no way they're going to win it. They're not winning that game if he has a bad one. So it's a lot on his shoulders, almost like the Seahawks and Wilson. It's like if Wilson doesn't have a good game, the Seahawks most likely aren't going to win. I feel like that's the same with the Cardinals. But I guess moving on to the Seahawks game, Wilson, your MVP, had a decent game, 149 yards, 2 touchdowns. Didn't really have to do much in this game. I think it was a pretty handleable game for them. They got out to a 21-7 lead, and then it kind of just nothing really happened after that. To be honest, they had that late touchdown from Collins that kind of put the game away in the fourth quarter. Then, like I said, the Niners got a late touchdown to make it a one-score game. But between these two teams, like we said, we'll have to see what Lance does. But the Seahawks, 2-2, they face Rams next week, Thursday night game. That's gonna be a great game. That's most likely going to be the best Thursday night game of the season. Not counting the opening night because that's opening night, like an actual traditional Thursday night game. Then they go Steelers, Saints, Jaguars. So, this should be, assuming they win next week, that would be a really tough game. But if they could win next week, they can get on the roll here. And then Wilson's going to probably play MVP type level.
From the Niners side, it's unfortunate that Garoppolo's injured. I'm not sure Garoppolo is going to be out for at any time at all. I think he stayed on the field the entire game, but
they did say they think it's a pretty serious injury.
Okay. I don't know what serious means, but I don't think it's like serious. I really don't. I think he'll be back within the next couple of weeks. Maybe I'm wrong.
Well,
but why would he stay on the field? I don't think he went to the locker room at all that game. At least he did not initially. Unless I missed when they said he went to the locker room. I don't think he even went to the locker room. And maybe I'm wrong. He probably did at some point, but he didn't initially. And I think if it was a serious injury, I don't know.
Well, I guess when I meant serious, I meant a couple weeks. Like he's probably going to miss 4 to 6 weeks, I'd say. He even said it himself. He anticipates being out a couple weeks. So that's, like I said, that's probably like a month he's probably out for. So 4 games, maybe even more. I mean, that's going to matter, especially with Lance being in there. But that's what he said so far. So I guess we'll have to see. But I think he's going to miss. I think he's going to miss time. It's the last. I think 3 out of the last 4 years he's been injured for at least multiple weeks. So that's going to happen again this year as well. I think we'll have to see how they play without him. Because I think everyone doesn't want Garoppolo playing, but if Lance doesn't play well, you're going to realize that you probably needed Garoppolo to play. He's obviously knows the system and he does know how to win games.
I mean, we'll see if he plays like he did this week. You might have a bunch of 49ers fans who want to keep Lance on the field, and I wouldn't necessarily disagree with that. Something that hurt the Niners in this game was Robbie Gould getting injured pregame. Their punter, Mitch Wishnowski, he missed an extra point early on. He was the one that had to do that onside kick late in the game. It was it wasn't an awful onside kick by any means, but you'd obviously rather have your actual kicker who's practiced the onside kicks be kicking that onside kick. So that at least hurt them. Did it cost them the game? I mean, I don't know. Missed an extra point, missed a field goal. Didn't get him for the onside kick. Yeah, a couple misplays. I think Kittle had a play that he could have caught. It was a pass down the field, but close game, in division game. I think both of these teams are pretty good. These are two teams that they're not favorites to make it to the Super Bowl necessarily, but I could see both of these teams making it to the Super Bowl. They need stuff to fall in their way. They need to get a little bit lucky, but I mean, that's pretty much any team. They'll need to get some luck, but I like both of these teams going forward. I could see either of them making the Super Bowl. So.
Yep. And probably the last game we'll talk about, Packers Steelers. I'm not gonna lie, I really did not watch this game, but I did see the highlights of it. But I think the main thing from this game is just the Steelers are dead. They're a really bad team. No matter what that defense does or whatever they think that they are, they're not. They're just not a good team. And I think it's gonna be a really tough next, 13 games or 12 games for them, whatever it's going to be. I guess 13 games for this team. And I'm curious to see what happens with Roethlisberger at some point. Is he gonna start every single game? They don't really have like a true backup. They have Haskins and Rudolph. This is probably Big Ben's last year, so you'd assume he'd probably start every game to get every start or whatever. But I think it's gonna be a really tough stretch for them.
Yeah, I mean the Steelers are done. I watched a solid amount of this game. Big Ben is just bad. He missed a bunch. He missed a decent amount of throws. Najee Harris looks not impressive. They were pretty much down from the start. Well, not necessarily from the start, but they were down almost the whole game. The Packers looked all right. They looked all right. Not, I didn't take away too much from this game other than stuff that I already knew, which was the Steelers are bad. They had one lucky win in the first week against the Bills. The Packers look good. I mean, they look like a team that's similar to last year, maybe not as good as last year in the past couple of years, but they're a team that's going to be a tough out in the postseason no matter what, just because Aaron Rodgers is so good. And if they can get home field in a game or the whole playoffs, then this is an extremely tough out. And it would be tough for me to pick against the Packers if they're home. So, I mean, I guess I did last year, but still, Roethlisberger's done though. Roethlisberger, he's bad. He's bad. And the Steelers team, listen, I'm not firing. Listen, I hate Mike Tomlin. He's a coach that I just really don't like, because he's like a coach that he's like good enough to win you games no matter what. Like even if you give him a really bad team, he's going to find a way to win you 4 or 5 games and make you competitive as heck. But I mean, he's not, I don't think he's good enough to really get you to a Super Bowl. And I know that's not necessarily related to the Steelers right now, but we've seen it time and time again, almost every single year. And I know you have to play Brady in the playoffs, but still, he's a coach that I feel like you play up to your competition, but you also play down to your competition. And when you don't have an amazing quarterback like you have for the past 15 years, and now Ben's done, I think it's time to kind of start looking at that. Again, you're not firing him, but I mean, if you're trying to win a Super Bowl, then I think it's something you look at.
Yeah, and I think that week 1 win saved them, because I think they'd be 0-4 right now if that Bills team was playing like obviously how they are right now. But yeah, I mean, his streak of the winning, like at least 500 or better, is, I think it's going to come to an end this year. I think, like I said, I think I mean, just the way they are, I mean, I think they'll probably win 6-7 games, maybe. Like, I think that defense could probably win them a couple games, but I just don't think they're that good of a team. And I honestly really wouldn't be surprised if at the end of the year, Big Ben retires. I'm not saying Tomlin gets fired, but they kind of have a mutual agreement. Maybe they want to go another way. Maybe he sticks around for another year and then leaves. But I do think his time is coming to an end. I think they probably have to look and say, we're not a Super Bowl type team, unless we get an Aaron Rodgers, but obviously that's not going to happen. So they have to kind of go with a rookie quarterback and just build it back up from the bottom. And I think that, again, maybe he stays for another year to help that, but I think his time is probably this year or next year. I think he's probably gone. And I think any team would like to have Mike Tomlin. I think he's a good coach. Like, I do agree with you. Is he like an amazing coach? A guy who can like win you a Super Bowl? Probably not. But I think he's a really good coach. I think he can always keep you competitive and having a winning season, which I think any team would take.
Yeah, he's similar to. He's not a similar coach to Andy Reid, but this could be a similar case in which it's just you've run your course. Like you're done. Mike Tomlin's done with the Steelers. Like Reid was done with the Eagles. Now, do they regret that decision, firing him in hindsight? Maybe, but I think if Reid stayed there, it wouldn't have been what he is now in Kansas City. And I think it might just be time to call it on that. And the Steelers kind of just do the full reboot, get the TikTok boys out of there, get Roethlisberger out of there.
Yeah, that's what I think. Yeah, that's what I think as well. I think they have to look towards that, because it's not sustainable trying to stretch this out. It's just like, you look at the Giants almost did with Eli, where you just have to somewhat rebuild at some point and draft a quarterback. Now you have to try to draft the right quarterback, but obviously that comes when the time comes. But I think that's probably it for the NFL right now. And quickly, just because today was the last day of the regular season in baseball, I do want to talk about what happened and see what, if our picks were right. I know mine wasn't, because I picked the Mariners and they didn't make it, but you picked the Blue Jays though, right? And the Yankees.
Yeah.
Yeah, and obviously that didn't work out. It was the Yankees and the Red Sox. Your Nationals, they had a chance to possibly cause the Blue Jays or the Mariners to get in, but they blew a 5-1 lead, which also forced the Yankees now to go play in Fenway for the wild card game. So I wish the Nationals had won that game. But it was a crazy day. The Giants won. The Dodgers also won. So with that, the Dodgers are in the wild card, and the Giants will face the winner of that game. And like we said, the Yankees versus Red Sox in Fenway. St. Louis versus LA in Dodger Stadium. Blue Jays miss out. Mariners miss out. It was a great day. That's what I wasn't really watching the 4 o'clock games that much because I was watching the end of the Yankees game because it was 0-0 game. They're basically getting no hit the whole game. They had 1 hit until like the 8th inning, but they did win on an Aaron Judge walk-off. So that was fun to see. That's kind of what I was watching, like I just said. But yeah, I guess playoffs will start probably on the next episode. We'll probably do our World Series prediction, or whatever episode, whatever one comes up next after the wild card games are done. We'll make our World Series predictions. So that'll be fun.
Yeah, so the AL game is on Tuesday, NL game is on Wednesday. We're not going to have an episode out before that. So do you have 2 predictions on those? What are your predictions on those games?
Well, I mean, me being a Yankee fan, I almost have to go with the Yankees. Even if I wasn't, I'd probably still go with them because it is going to be Garrett Cole pitching, and I do trust him to at least, this is the reason why they paid him $325 million was to win games like this. So, yeah, I'm going with the Yankees in that game. For the other game, I think it's going to be a close game, that one, and we'll see Scherzer. Like in 2019, he was good in the playoffs, but the other years in the playoffs, not saying he was bad, but he definitely wasn't as good as he was in the regular season. So we'll see how he is in the wild card game. I don't know if has he ever pitched in a wild card game? Because didn't Strasburg pitch in 2019 in that game, or was that Scherzer?
No,
I don't know if he's ever
trying to remember.
I could look it up, but
because I remember it was a debate. I think
I'm looking it up right now, but either way, we'll see how he is in the playoffs. He's going against Wainwright, who's always been really good in the playoffs. And he's also having an amazing year this year. But I'll probably go with the Dodgers. They're just the better team. Now the Cardinals have been super hot, but when you're that hot, sometimes it doesn't totally work out. It was Scherzer. I'm looking at it right now. He went 5 innings, 3 runs, 3 walks, 6 strikeouts, 2 home runs. So
he didn't have a great game. He did not have a great game. That was the game where. Yes, that's what it was. And I think Corbin started game 1.
Yeah.
That was the game where
Grisham.
Yes, but also yes.
Also what?
No, nothing. What's the long hair reliever's name again?
Hader.
Hader, yeah. I don't know how I always forget that. I was thinking like it hurts for some reason.
Yeah, he gave up the hit to Soto.
Yeah.
But like I said, I think I'll go Dodgers. They're just a better team. And I think we talked about in the last one, but the NL MVP, we said it was Bryce Harper, but honestly, looking at it, I think it might be Trey Turner. If you look at the year he's having, he's going to win the batting. He did win the batting title, but he had 30 homers. I think he had 30 stolen bases as well. I mean, he had an insane year. So I think that's actually a debate, especially if it's the Phillies. And again, in baseball, it somewhat doesn't matter if you make the playoffs or not, but the Dodgers did win 106 games. And I know technically he wasn't on the team the whole year, but I think that's going to be I think it's going to be a close vote when it comes down to that in like November when they do it.
Yeah, I'm not sure how close it will be. I think my vote would be Harper right now. At least, not putting a ton of like thought and research into it. I think my vote right now would be Harper. I mean, I'm not going to be upset though if Turner wins it because I think there's a very solid chance that Soto, Trey Turner, and Harper are my like 3 favorite baseball players within the past 9 years or whatever, 10 years. I mean, obviously Trey and Soto have not played 10 years, but ever since I've like gone into baseball or whatever, those might be my 3 favorite players. So yeah, they're all playing pretty well.
Yeah. And again, Soto probably would win MVP if he was on a good team. So, and he's most likely going to win one at some point, to be honest. But yeah, I guess that was it. It was just
my wildcard predictions. I'm going NL, Dodgers, AL. Do I go Red Sox? No. Yeah, I'm gonna go Red Sox, and like I'm gonna go Red Sox for like the reverse psychology. Maybe I'm not allowed to say reverse psychology, like.
Trying to jinx them, you mean?
I'm trying to jinx them. Yeah. I'm trying to jinx them. So I'm gonna pick Red Sox.
I mean, would you be mad if they won?
Not mad. I'm gonna be rooting for the Yankees for sure. I
Okay.
just don't. I listen. I don't hate the Red Sox. I just hate I hate like seeing the Red Sox like fake fans. It just like upsets me for some reason. There's this. It's a certain. There's like fake Patriots fans too, but it's a lot harder to notice because they haven't ever been bad until last year, pretty much. So like it's harder to notice fake fans. But for the Red Sox, like when they're bad, literally nobody talks about them at all. And when they're good, like everyone posts on their story about the Red Sox. I just kind of cringe. Like I just there
Yeah.
was another what happens in the Ravens? There was something that happens in the Ravens Broncos game that like really made me cringe, and I forget exactly what it was. You may remember.
Was it Harbaugh going crazy after the Hollywood touchdown? That's the one thing I saw from that game. I don't know.
Um,
I don't know what you'd be talking about.
I'll bring it up next episode, but I gotta remember there was something that literally like
Was it
made
in
me,
game?
yes. There was something that
Okay.
happened that made me think about like me wanting to do like a top five, like just like cringiest moments of every NFL week or something, or like top three, like and make that a new thing because like the Ravens, they're kind of just pissing me off lately. Even though I like the Ravens, John
Um,
Harbaugh has been kind of just making me cringe a little bit.
I
So
don't know. I would assume it was probably that. I did see a highlight of like after Hollywood made that. It was a great catch. But I
yeah.
don't know. There was a video of him going crazy or something. I don't even know if I actually watched the video, but um, I did. The one thing I saw from that game pregame was that Tucker was easily hitting 70-yard field goals. So if that time, I wish it did come up because obviously he was in Denver. Like that, before the half or whatever, he kicked a 70-yard field goal because I think he would have made
Oh,
it.
you know what it was? You know what it was? Sorry to
Whoa.
interrupt, but it was them doing the stupid 4 yard rush to preserve the 100 yard. So
Oh,
they've had the 42 straight games of 100 rush yards. They should have just kneeled it the last play of the game. And instead of doing that, Harbaugh decided, you know what, just let's run the ball 4 yards to preserve the streak and keep it at 43.
yeah, I'm looking at it right now. There's 3 seconds left in the game.
Yeah.
Lamar left side for 5 yards.
Yeah. That
Yeah,
like made me like I was so annoyed at that. Like it's just it's so Harbaugh, it's so Ravens, and like I like Harbaugh and I really like the Ravens, but like maybe it's just because I'm a Belichick guy because I'm a Patriots fan, obviously, but like a lot of like the best coaches, and I know Harbaugh is one of the best coaches, but they're not doing that stupid stuff. Like it's just to me, it just like just kneel the ball. I know obviously even if they score a touchdown on some random fumble, like you're not losing that game, but it's just cringe. Like I just
if
that's
if they were at 100 yards, do you think they're still running the ball?
yeah, they're quarterback sneaking that 1 yard. Yes, just to avoid kneeling and losing that streak.
Yeah,
Yeah,
because they
that
were
was
at
like they were at 97
yeah they were
this game.
97. Yeah,
Oh, that really pissed me off.
yeah,
That was bad.
yeah. All right. I mean, that could be a thing. Top five, I guess, things. Maybe that things that
It
like
doesn't. Yeah,
irritate you or something.
yeah. It can't be like top five because there's like it's hard to find five things that like annoy you in the NFL like consistently, but like just like things that just like make me just not want to watch anymore.
Yeah.
I mean, not actually not want to watch, but like
Well, yeah. It's just something that's like unnecessary. Something that just didn't need to happen.
that
Yeah,
was
I could see that.
cringe. Yeah.
Yeah. All
All
right.
right. Well,
Well,
that's it for this episode.
yeah.
Uh,
And
yeah.
we I guess one other thing I guess that happened today was first preseason game of the NBA. So obviously that's starting back up. And we kind of talked about it last episode, but yeah, that was today as well. So again, all baseball playoffs, football regular season, and then start of NBA all happening at once. So it's going to be a really exciting couple weeks.
Who played?
The Lakers and the Nets, actually.
I did
So
not watch this. Did anybody play in that game or like I don't know.
I know AD played, but no one else. It's not like LeBron, Kyrie, Harden. No one like that played. But AD did play. I don't know how many minutes he played. Probably like 7, to be honest. But
Yeah.
yeah, they. I mean, there was. I think there was like I didn't really watch it, but I think I saw something that said there was like 16,000 people there. So I mean, I guess first time allowing full people in the building or whatever. but that's a lot of people for a preseason game. 16,000 arena. You know, I'm assuming Staple holds like 22,000, 20,000, 22,000, somewhere around that. So, yeah, just a note though. That's all.
Yeah, but that's pretty much it for this episode. Feel free to check out everything in the description, social medias, all that. Check out the Clips channel. Me and Brandon doing the weekly recaps for Patriots and Cowboys. Also, if we didn't already, we're uploading that top 15 players in the NBA video. So that'll be a thing.
That'll probably be tomorrow.
That'll be at some point in the future. So, anyways, description, that channel, Spotify, all that stuff. We'll be back Thursday. Goodbye.